When you're working an NFL game, they're all pros, and they're all fast, and they're all big. I was the replay official for Super Bowl XLII. If you made a call, it was going to be a big call. You didn't miss many calls and stick around. My name's Ken Baker, and I was an NFL referee from 1991 to 2010. I grew up in a small town in the Midwest, Charleston, Illinois. I was the son of a legendary Hall of Fame high school coach here, and our whole family revolved around sports. I graduated from Charleston High School in 1968, and then went on to Eastern Illinois University, where I played a little varsity baseball there at Eastern. After college, I did a short time of coaching and teaching, but then went on to become an optician, and then officiating became my athletic outlet. And so I started officiating, and my goal was to work in the Big Ten, and I did accomplish that goal. And it was there that the NFL first saw me. I was working a Notre Dame-Purdue game, and they came to see another official, and I got their attention, and I got a call on Monday morning from my supervisor asking me if I'd taken my mom and dad to the game with me. And I said, well, yes, I did. Why do you ask? And they said, because the NFL had a scout there, and they followed you when the game was over to see who you left with. And I left with my mom and dad. And I often tell young people, had I left there with a beer in one hand and a cheerleader under the other arm, and I would have not gotten in the NFL, and I'd never known why. My Division III supervisor, a gentleman by the name of Jim Keogh, was a dear friend, and he said that I should apply, and so I did. And about a year later, then I heard from them, and then you went through the interview process. And they also sent people to Charleston to do a background check on me. And so they checked the office where I worked. They talked with people at the university. They talked to my neighbors. And so that was quite an event for Charleston. We don't get much excitement around here, but I do give them a lot of credit for the time and expense that they go through to ensure the integrity of their officials. This is one of the game balls from the first game that I ever worked, and you can see the detail on there. It's the Houston Oilers playing the LA Raiders. It's got the score, all the officials signed it, and it is very, very dear to me because this was the first NFL game that I worked. It was 9/1/1991. You're required to have a meeting at 2 o'clock on Saturday before your Sunday game. You'd go through the previous week's game and every call that you made or should have made or could have made or didn't make, and you didn't miss many calls and stick around. Being a deep official, I would go to one of the locker rooms. You'd walk right through the locker rooms and hear all these, star football players, and then you'd go meet with the coach, and the coach would tell you who the captains are. And once the game kicked off, it was another football game, other than it was fast. If you work a Michigan, Ohio State Big Ten game, there might be 10 guys there that go on to the pros. But when you're working an NFL game, they're all pros, and they're all fast, and they're all big. I worked field judge, side judge, back judge. I started out as a field judge, which is one of the deep wind guys, but I was always deep because I ran pretty well. As a deep official, if you made a call, it was going to be a big call.
The officials take a lot of heat. Let's watch it right here. All right, there's possession. There's the right foot down. There comes the left inbounds, and field judge Kenny Baker in perfect position to make the call. Well done.
I was the replay official for Super Bowl XLII. It was the 2007 season, had a really good year, and I remember I was out on campus It was a beautiful winter's day, and I got the call from Dean Blandino, and he was very gracious in what he said. He said, "We have made a decision that's very popular here in the office, and that is that you're going to be the Super Bowl replay official." It's the same way with players. You know, if you get to the Super Bowl, you're the best in the world at what you do. There's a lot of factors that factor in, and a lot of guys have some great careers and never work the Super Bowl. And so you're pretty fortunate if you get a chance to work a Super Bowl. They give you a nice ring, and Sandy's got a nice necklace, which is a duplicate of the ring, and we'll pass those on to our daughter and our grandkids. So that's a nice ring. That's every official's goal, is to get one of those rings, just as it is a player to get a Super Bowl ring. Super Bowl 42, we knew it was going to be an historic game because there'd only been one team in history to ever go through a complete season undefeated and then win the Super Bowl, and that was the Miami Dolphins. So we knew going into Super Bowl 42, if New England Patriots with Tom Brady won it, they would be on that same pedestal as the Miami Dolphins. Then on the other hand, you had the New York Giants with Eli Manning, little brother of Peyton Manning. So there was a lot of different storylines around Super Bowl 42. It's always a high-profile game, but that one we knew was going to be special. Because of the teams playing, it was going to get a lot of attention.
Oh my God, this ball's thrown and Tyree just goes up for it like a basketball player. Harrison trying to knock it down.
The biggest call that I was probably ever involved with was the Tyree catch. Here we are 20 years later, and they're still talking about the Tyree catch. That call was made by Scott Helverson, which at that time was the back judge. I was the replay official, and Eli Manning was driving in for the game-winning score against the undefeated at that time New England Patriots. So it was a historic game. It was a historic catch. At that Super Bowl, I think we had 42 cameras. 27 of them I had access to on my replay screen, and that's a lot of different angles to look at in 60 seconds. The good news is Coach Coughlin from the Giants called a timeout, so we didn't even have to stop it to review one of the biggest catches in Super Bowl history. So during the timeout, we looked at all the different angles because you don't want to miss that one. They'd still be talking about it if you did. The NFL experience was a great experience, but it's difficult on the family. I have a wife and a daughter, and I still have the same wife and the same daughter. When I first got in the NFL, the first phone call Red Cation made as my referee was not to me, it was to my wife, Sandy, because he wanted to visit with her, prepare her for what was in store for me and what was in store for the family. When you get to that level, it doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete or if you're an actor, a congressperson, when you get to that level, there's a lot of people pulling at you in different directions. And so that's the most important thing, is to perform at that level and still keep the most important thing, which is the family, together.